Hey guys, my name is Soaches, and this time I'm gonna be making the Hyoi Pear from Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. The Hyoi Pear? The Hyoi Pear? So my experience with Zelda is actually pretty limited. Of course I know about the franchise and the characters and stuff, but I didn't grow up with the franchise like a lot of other people, and the games I do own I've only picked up in recent years. Wind Waker was actually the first game I finished, which was only like 2 years ago. When I was still studying, me and one of my friends used to head over to my apartment every Friday and play for a few hours after school while waiting for the bus. I decided on this project because I love the cartoon graphics of Wind Waker and I found this particular item to be pretty cool. So basically, Link puts this pear on his head and waits for a seagull to come and eat it, and then you can control the seagull because fruit. When I had a round shape to work with, I began working on getting it to look like the actual pear. I ripped up some kitchen towels into small pieces and mixed it in a bowl with some water and flour to get sort of like a paper mache clay or paste that you can sculpt with. It takes a day or so to dry, but it makes a pretty tough surface that's easy to work with. At this point the pear wouldn't be wide enough to fit the eyes or the mouth, so I just kept adding paper mache to flatten out the bottom and make it wider until it looked good enough to add the clay. I didn't make the clay thick enough at the mouth portion, so I had to carve it extra deep and recoat it with some more clay to avoid the paper showing underneath. I made the stock with some steel wire and clay. After it dried, I cut it down to size and sanded it into shape before attaching it with some super glue. One thing that was an issue during this whole thing is that the Hyoi Pear looks different in the GameCube version and the Wii U version. I couldn't settle for just one look because I used references from both games, so I just went with how I thought it looked best. I think shape-wise I made it look more like the GameCube version, but the colors ended up a bit more like the Wii U version. I think the part where I add the final details is almost the most important part because it makes the pear look so much better in the end. As you can see, I shaded the stock by putting on some darker paint, and I tried to make it more subtle by removing the sharp contrast by removing some of the paint with a wet paper towel. It's meant to have this sort of frecklish pattern on it, so I used my ballpoint tool to boop some paint all over the pear to create the small spots. I tried to make it as close as I could to the original, so if you look like in-game, I think you can see that it's practically on the same places, especially in the face. I contoured parts of the face to give it more contrast, and I just love how that turned out. It makes this shaded look like it's carved much deeper than it actually is, and in the end I think it's like my favorite detail on the pear. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Is there another item you want me to make from The Legend of Zelda, or do you have any other ideas for future videos? Leave them in the comment section below. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you all next time.